26 strange British village names that sound completely fake, but are absolutely real places you can visit today. From Scratchy Bottom to Titty Ho, these peculiar names survived centuries of British propriety, with residents fighting council attempts to change them. Yet here's the mind-blowing twist. These embarrassing names have perfectly innocent origins in Old Norse, Saxon, or medieval English, revealing hidden histories of Viking invasions and ancient farming practices. Why Shitterton residents spent £680 on a ton-and-a-half stone sign will redefine British eccentricity. Starting our journey through Britain's most eyebrow-raising place names, we find not one, but two Twatt, one in Orkney and another in Shetland. The name comes from Old Norse Thavat, meaning a small parcel of land, which Vikings brought over during 9th century invasions. The Orkney Twatt sits near Skara Brae, making it older than Stonehenge. While its Shetland cousin remains so remote, Google Street View hasn't mapped it. Local residents have given up being embarrassed, with one Orkney farmer telling reporters he's proud to be Twatt born and bred. The community council once received a complaint from an American tourist who thought the road signs were vandalised with profanity. Speaking of surprises coming up, wait until you hear about the Dorset village whose residents got so fed up with sign theft they took matters into their own hands. Shitterton achieved national fame in 2010 when villagers, exhausted by decades of sign theft, spent £680 on a ton-and-a-half Purbeck stone block with the village name carved into it. The name appears in the Domesday Book as Scatterer, from Old English Sinite, meaning stream plus ton for farmstead, literally farmstead on the stream that divides. The stream still runs through today, now called the River Piddle. Village chairman Ian Ventham declared drunken students would need a crane to steal their new sign. The village had 3 sign thefts in 1 year before the stone solution. Property prices actually increased after installation, proving British eccentricity has genuine market value. The origin of Pity Me remains one of Britain's etymological mysteries. Local legend claims monks travelling to Durham Cathedral would cry, "Pity me," when caught in foul weather, though historians dismiss this as Victorian nonsense. The likely explanation involves Norman French petit mer, meaning small lake, referencing a long-drained pond. During World War II, the village gained unwanted attention when a German bomber pilot reportedly told interrogators he'd specifically targeted somewhere called Pity Me because the name amused him. Professional footballer Bobby Pattinson, who played for Sunderland in the 1940s, allegedly told teammates he came from the most miserable place in England. Today's residents host an annual Pity Me Day with a hard luck competition for the year's unluckiest residents. Nestled between Durdledore and Lulworth Cove on Dorset's Jurassic coast, Scratchy Bottom is actually a valley rather than a village. The scratchy refers to rough vegetation that once covered the valley floor, gorse and brambles that would scratch agricultural workers' legs. Bottom means valley bottom in traditional geographical terminology. The spot gained Hollywood fame in the 1967 film of Hardy's Far from the Madding Crowd. With Julie Christie and Terence Stamp filming key scenes here, the valley witnessed tragedy in 1943 when a Lancaster bomber crashed during training, killing all 7 crew. Local farmers still find aircraft aluminum today. The valley's geological importance rivals its amusing name, cutting through rock layers spanning 100 million years of Earth's history. The Essex village of Ugly has endured centuries of jokes, including the legendary Ugly Women's Institute, whose members proudly wore badges declaring, "I'm an ugly woman." The name derives from Saxon personal name Urga plus ley, meaning clearing, essentially Urga's clearing in the forest. The village church of St. Peter's from 1220 contains a fascinating carved wooden effigy of a knight from around 1300, one of only a handful surviving in England. During the Civil War, parliamentary forces ransacked the church, destroying medieval stained glass, though fragments survive. The village attracted national attention in 2013 when developers proposed 1,200 homes here, with protesters carrying signs reading "Keep Ugly Beautiful." The campaign succeeded, preserving the village's rural character Wetwang produced one of British archaeology's most significant Iron Age discoveries when excavators uncovered the Wetwang chariot burial in 2001. The skeleton of a woman buried with an intact chariot challenged everything historians knew about Iron Age Britain, suggesting links to continental Celtic culture previously thought absent from Yorkshire. The name comes from Old Norse vetvanga, meaning field for legal trials, where Viking-era disputes were settled. The village gained brief fame in 2003 when comedian Richard Herring stood as joke candidate in local elections, promising to build a Wetwang theme park. He received 9 votes. The annual Wetwang Scarecrow Festival draws thousands of visitors each summer. The local Black Swan pub claims Yorkshire's best Sunday roast. Despite its cheerful name suggesting medieval merriment, Giggleswick near Settle derives from Old English personal name Jachel plus wick, meaning dwelling place. The village's famous school, founded in 1512, educated Richard Frankland, who established England's first dissenting academy, after being ejected from the Church of England in 1662. The school's distinctive copper-domed chapel, commemorating Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee, can be seen for miles across the Dales and was designed by Liverpool Anglican Cathedral's architect, the village's ancient market charter, granted by King Henry III in 1249. Technically still permits a weekly market, though none has been held since the 1890s. Local legend tells of a dragon called the Giggleswick Worm, slain near the village well where suspicious red marks remain. Now technically Greater London, but historically Kent, Pratt's Bottom was named after the medieval Pratt family who owned land here, with bottom meaning valley. The village achieved notoriety in the 1960s when it became home to notorious London gangsters seeking rural respectability, including Richardson gang members conducting business meetings in the local pub. The village's most famous legitimate resident was pioneering aviator Pauline Gower, who founded the women's section of the Air Transport Auxiliary during World War II, flying Spitfires and bombers from factories to airfields. The local primary school consistently ranks among Kent's best, leading to fierce housing competition. Property developers have repeatedly tried building estates here, but residents have successfully fought off every attempt since 1947. Crapstone on Dartmoor's edge takes its name from Old English crop, meaning boundary rock. The area received unwanted attention in 2005 when featured in a Channel 4 documentary about Britain's rudest place names, with residents split between embarrassment and pride. The local Exeter Inn claims haunting by a Cavalier soldier killed during the Civil War siege of nearby Buckland Abbey, once home to Sir Francis Drake. The village's 1837 Methodist chapel contains remarkable biblical texts painted directly onto walls by a Victorian signwriter who bartered his work for food and lodging. A local resident, Dorothy Osborne, wrote a best-selling 1952 memoir titled Life in Crapstone, which remains the definitive social history of Dartmoor village life between the wars. Great Snoring and its neighbour Little Snoring have nothing to do with sleep but derive from Saxon snaringers, meaning the people of a man called Sneer. The village's St Mary's Church contains England's finest collections of medieval graffiti, including ships, faces and mysterious symbols historians believe are protective marks against witchcraft. During World War II, nearby RAF Snoring hosted American bomber squadrons, and villagers recall Glenn Miller performing an impromptu concert in the village hall weeks before his mysterious disappearance over the English Channel. The village made headlines in 2019 when archaeologists discovered evidence of a massive Anglo-Saxon royal hall beneath a farmer's field. The annual Snoring Vintage Tractor Rally attracts enthusiasts from across Europe. Nasty in Hertfordshire isn't actually nasty. This tiny hamlet's name probably comes from at the East Enclosure in Middle English. The hamlet consists of just 6 houses and a farm, but played a surprisingly important role in World War II when the farm was requisitioned as a secret communications station, intercepting German radio transmissions. The original farmhouse from 1480 contains what architectural historians believe is the oldest surviving example of a witch's mark, deliberately carved to prevent evil spirits entering through the chimney. Local records show that in 1645, the notorious witchfinder general Matthew Hopkins investigated reports of witchcraft here but found no evidence, though one resident was fined for harbouring a suspiciously intelligent cat. Fingringhoe on the Colne estuary takes its name from Saxon fingra's spur of land. Though generations of schoolchildren have sniggered at the pronunciation, the village is home to one of Britain's most important nature reserves, where nightingales still sing, and where conservationists successfully reintroduced the large blue butterfly thought extinct in Britain since 1979. The village church of St Andrews contains a unique medieval seaman's window paid for by local sailors grateful for surviving a 1489 storm. During the 1953 floods that devastated the Essex coast, Fingringhoe residents saved dozens of lives by ignoring official evacuation orders and rescuing stranded families in rowing boats. In 2021, metal detectorists discovered a hoard of Roman gold coins worth over £100,000. The Scottish village of Dull formed an official Trinity of Tedium in 2013 by twinning with Boring, Oregon and Bland, New South Wales, generating more tourist interest than centuries of Highland history. The name derives from Gaelic Dull, meaning meadow, and the village was once an important religious centre with links to St Adamnan, biographer of St Columba. The village's standing stone, erected around 1500 BCE, aligns perfectly with midwinter sunset when viewed from the church, suggesting our ancestors were anything but dull. Local legend claims Rob Roy McGregor hid here after escaping government troops. The village shop closed in 1994, but residents maintain an honesty box selling local honey, eggs and Dull merchandise. High on the Cumbrian fells, Little Cockup isn't a mistake, but a corruption of Old Norse cock, meaning heap, and hop, meaning secluded valley. The nearby Little Cockup cairn marks one of the best viewpoints in the Northern Lake District, though Victorian guidebooks primly referred to it as Cock Fell to avoid embarrassment. The area witnessed one of Britain's last wolf hunts in 1396, according to local records describing villagers driving a great grey beast over the crags to its death. The fell was used for secret commando training during World War II, with Norwegian resistance fighters preparing for raids on heavy water plants crucial to Nazi atomic research. Modern fell runners consider Little Cockup part of the notorious Bacco Skiddaw route. Ramsbottom's name, combining ram with valley bottom, has inspired countless jokes, but this former mill town sparked serious industrial innovation. The Grant Brothers Tower, built in 1840, pioneered fireproof mill construction that became the global standard, saving countless lives. The town's East Lancashire Railway once transported cotton that clothed half the world, with Ramsbottom Mills producing specialised yarns for Queen Victoria's wedding dress. The town gained culinary fame through the Ramsbottom Chocolate Festival, where TV chef James Martin declared their black pudding the best in Britain. Local resident Betty Tootle worked at Bletchley Park breaking German naval codes. The annual World Black Pudding Throwing Championships, hurling Yorkshire puddings at suspended black puddings, represents the ongoing Wars of the Roses in miniature. Bell End near Belbroughton takes its innocent name from a bell-shaped piece of land at the village's end, though postal workers report more photography requests here than anywhere else in Britain. The village's industrial heritage includes nail making, with children as young as 6 working forge bellows in the 1840s, until reform campaigners exposed conditions that shocked Victorian society. The local Holy Cross Church contains a memorial to the 5 Jeffreys brothers, all killed within 11 months during World War I, devastating a community of barely 200 people. Recent archaeological excavations uncovered evidence of Roman ironworking, suggesting Bell End's industrial roots stretch back 2 millennia. A local service station, embracing the name, operated as Bell End Service Station. Blubber houses on the Yorkshire moors has nothing to do with whale processing, but likely derives from Blaeberry houses, buildings near Bilberry grounds. The village's coaching inn served the Ripon to Skipton Turnpike, with records showing Charles Dickens stayed here while researching Nicholas Nickleby, describing it as delightfully dismal. During the 1926 general strike, Blubberhouse's miners walked 15 miles daily to picket lines, with villagers sharing their last food with striking families. The local moor contains Bronze Age burial mounds that Victorian antiquarians excavated with typical destructive enthusiasm, though they missed a perfectly preserved bog body discovered by peat cutters in 1987. The village's Methodist chapel, built entirely by volunteer labour during the 1890s depression, still hosts Yorkshire's smallest regular congregation. Crackpot in Swaledale derives from Old Norse kraka, meaning crow, and pot, meaning deep hole or cave, perfectly describing this hamlet perched above a limestone cave system. The village's ruined farmsteads tell the tragic story of Swaledale's lead mining collapse, with population falling from 50 families to just 2 permanent residents. Today, Crackpot Hall, abandoned since 1953, achieved Instagram fame as Yorkshire's most photogenic ruin, though photographers risk disturbing rare horseshoe bats roosting in its cellars. The cave below connects to a vast underground system that claimed 3 Victorian explorers, whose bodies were never recovered. Archaeological surveys revealed that Crackpot's seemingly ancient field walls actually date from the 1790s Enclosure Acts, completely reshaping historians' understanding of Dale's farming patterns. Foulness, meaning promontory of birds from Old English Fuglaneus, remains Britain's most secretive inhabited area, with Ministry of Defence controlling access since 1915. Residents need special passes, visitors require advance permission, and the single access road crosses military firing ranges. George Orwell allegedly based Airstrip 1 in 1984 on foulness after visiting his sister who taught at the island school. The island witnessed Britain's largest non-nuclear explosion in 1974, when 3,000 tons of deteriorating World War I ordnance were detonated, creating a mushroom cloud visible from Belgium. Despite isolation, foulness produces Britain's finest samphire, with foraging rights passed down through families for generations. The 14th century church survived both the 1953 floods and a 1940 bomb hit. The hamlet of Lost in Aberdeenshire gained its name from Gaelic loss, meaning dwelling, though mail regularly goes astray when senders assume it's a delivery instruction. This tiny settlement witnessed Scotland's forgotten tragedies when the 1829 Mucklespate flood swept away an entire family, with rescue attempts failing when rope throwers couldn't judge distance in darkness. The nearby Lost Gallery, converted from a Victorian school, showcases contemporary art in what critics call Scotland's most unlikely cultural destination. Archaeological evidence suggests Lost was continuously inhabited since Pictish times, with symbol stones incorporated into field walls by farmers unaware of their significance. The hamlet featured in a 1960s Soviet propaganda film as an example of capitalist Britain's forgotten places, though bemused residents pointed out they had electricity before many Moscow apartments. Titty-Ho in Rands isn't technically a village, but a road and area whose name scandalised Victorian sensibilities so thoroughly that Ordnance Survey maps euphemistically marked it as T-Ho until 1950. The name likely derives from Titty's Ho, referring to land cultivated by someone nicknamed Titty, possibly from the medieval name Titus. The area witnessed the Rands Area Project, Britain's most extensive archaeological investigation, revealing 9,000 years of continuous human habitation. Local historians discovered Titty-Ho appeared in the 18th century gaming songs as rhyming slang, possibly explaining Victorian prudishness. The nearby manor house served as a World War II interrogation centre for captured Luftwaffe pilots, with declassified records showing German maps marked it as Target 47B for reasons still unclear. Knob End near Bolton isn't a village but a nature reserve whose name derives from the knob-shaped hill overlooking the River Irwell. This site of special scientific interest contains rare metallophyte plants that only grow on heavy metal contaminated soil, thriving on industrial pollution that would kill other vegetation. The area's Prestoley locks witnessed the 1868 Knob End riot, when striking miners fought police in running battles requiring military intervention. Victorian industrialists dumped so much caustic waste here that resulting LeBlanc waste heaps created their own unique ecosystem studied by scientists worldwide. The reserve's industrial archaeology includes remains of the world's first commercially successful coal tar distillery, whose products literally fueled the British Empire's expansion. The hamlet of Thong derives from Old English twang, meaning narrow strip of land, though delivery drivers consistently photograph the village sign. This tiny settlement played an unlikely role in defeating Napoleon when Thong's windmill ground flour for naval biscuits that sustained Nelson's fleet at Trafalgar. The hamlet's 13th century well supposedly never runs dry, with water rights causing a legal dispute lasting from 1743 to 1962, surely Britain's longest-running civil case. During World War II, Thong hosted a secret radar station that gave London 15 crucial extra minutes warning of Ver 1 flying bombs. The hamlet made news in 2018 when archaeologists discovered Britain's oldest joke carved in Latin on a Roman roof tile. I made this on the 6th day before payday. Boggy Bottom perfectly describes this persistently waterlogged Hertfordshire valley where medieval monks attempted drainage before declaring it God's will that it remain boggy. The area's wetland nature created perfect conditions for watercress cultivation, with boggy bottom beds supplying London's Victorian markets until pollution killed the industry. Charles Darwin collected specimens here for Origin of Species, with his notebooks recording remarkable diversity in such unpromising bog. The valley witnessed Hertfordshire's last witch trial in 1712, when Jane Wenham was convicted but pardoned, with Boggy Bottom residents testifying she'd cursed their cattle. Modern ecological surveys revealed Boggy Bottom contains 3 species of dragonfly found nowhere else in southern England, making this squelchy valley internationally important for biodiversity. Slack Bottom in the Pennines takes its name from Old Norse slacky, meaning shallow valley, combined with topographical bottom. This remote valley served as a hideout for Yorkshire coiners, counterfeiters, in the 1760s, with King David Hartley's gang producing fake gold coins, so convincing economists estimate they increased Britain's money supply by 2%. The valley's isolation made it perfect for illegal prize fights during the Regency era, with Lord Byron allegedly attending a bout here in 1815. During the 1984 miners' strike, Slack Bottom became an unofficial meeting place for flying pickets coordinating Yorkshire coalfield activities. The valley contains mysterious stone circles that Victorian antiquarians declared druidical, though modern archaeology suggests they're actually 18th century sheep enclosures. From Twatt to Slack Bottom, these 26 names represent Britain's eccentric geography, where Viking invasions, Saxon settlements, and British humour created a map making tourists giggle and residents groan. Every place fought to keep their embarrassing names, with Shitterton's ton-and-a-half stone sign monumentalising British bloody-mindedness. These aren't just comedy gold. They're linguistic museums hiding extraordinary stories. Subscribe and hit the notification bell. Remember, if someone says British place names are boring, that's a load of crapstone.